Alright, so today is my first video breakdown of the Wampler FearBox. It's a signature overdrive by Andy Wood, and this is a one-day special run of it. Normally this is the GearBox. I had been looking at this pedal for a long time, and when I saw this was coming and realizing it was probably not going to last long, I used that as the opportunity to finally invest in this pedal. And I'll just go ahead and tell you that I've been very happy with it, and can't stop playing with it and trying out all the different options. And I wanted to really take my time doing a review of this pedal. So I'm going to do a few different things. I'm going to run it with the Simplifier today. I'm also going to play through it with my amp and another video, and then probably try it out with the HX Stomp and maybe even the Plethora as well. And I'll do a review video at the end of that, which will already come out by this point. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. I'm running it in the very most basic way right now, which is just my Les Paul guitar, which is tuned to half step down today, into the channel 1 input of this, and then out of the channel 2 output. If I was coming out of the channel 1 output, I wouldn't get any of these 6 knobs in the deal there. So this is the most standard way to use it. On the Simplifier, I'm using Marshall settings, very close to edge of breakup sound there. I'm on the Marshall settings, and then resonance and presence are all the way up. That's as high as this one goes, but it's all the way up. And then let's see, we have the greenback speakers 412. We'll probably mess around with that at some point too. So again, with that being my clean tone, let's go ahead and engage some of this here. So everyone probably already knows, but the right half is based off a Klon style pedal, or the Tumnus from Wampler, and the left side is based off of a Pinnacle, which is going to help you get kind of that 5150 sound, and I'll talk more about that as we get into it here. But again, nothing. And this is kind of a soft switch. You don't have like a click engage to get that going. And I thought it was a super cool detail that Andy Wood did, where it was like, I want this to sound good with all the knobs just like facing up at noon. So I'm not going to really explore like the tones in this so much. I will go ahead and tell you that all of the knobs are very usable, and like even everything all the way down or very much all the way up is not really pushing things into unpleasant territories. Everything sounds good on this, but that's that. I'll push the volume too much. I don't want to go too crazy with it because I will peak out the interface. I have learned this level is very powerful, not compressed in a way that you kind of like hit a glass ceiling and then it's just kind of giving you a tiny bit more gain. This will push some volume. Let's push the gain up though. You kind of get that with the gain. About the tone. Let's see, let's put the gain back there. Tone all the way back down. It does get quite a bit darker there. Let's see what happens though with the gain up higher. The tone knob feels very much linked with the gain knob, and not so much just the undriven sound there. Okay, so that's cool. Let's check out this side, and I'm going to start with the gate all the way down, actually. That's probably the best way to start with that. You might be able to hear just a tiny little bit of sound, so I'm just going to bring this up from the bottom until it just goes away. Just like that. And it's not a super tight, it's not like a dime bag or gent style noise gate. It's just very subtle but very effective, and I have not felt like it's choked out any notes unnaturally or been unpleasant or anything. In fact, that would be a super cool thing to maybe get from Wampler at some point. I'm really surprised that we haven't gotten an independent gate pedal, or just this gate added on to some other pedal, because it's great. And it's probably due to the fact that it is integrated in the pedal. Maybe it would be harder to make that something external that would work quite as good as this, but the gate only affects the left channel, not the right. So that's what we get with that. And just to show you too, the range on each of these knobs is kind of about what you would expect. 0 being, say, about 7 o'clock on a clock face, and then all the way up 10 being, say, about 5 o'clock on a clock face there. But with the gain, I'm going to disengage this. So you start at about the same spot over there, maybe a little bit... yeah, maybe a little bit further along. But watch what the gain knob does. So it goes all the way just about to 6 o'clock pointed down. And none of the other knobs do that. And I think that's a cool little trick there that I don't know that people have pointed out. Just showing that, like, hey, you can really, really push the gain on this. In fact, let's do that. So even with the gain at max, that gate is really helping keep it clean. And let's maybe just do a little. I want to push those mids and treble. Let's bring the bass on the simplifier down a little. Made it a little bit less flubby. In fact, let's help it out there. And let's try this. Let's boost it now with the channel 1. Oh, also I was on my neck pickup. That's probably a big part of it there. Let me try that again. Okay, now engage with this. Let's push the volume on it. See, now we're getting more noise on the gate, so I gotta bring that up. We dialed it out pretty well. Yeah, there it is. So that's something I want to do with this too, is I've seen a lot of videos and people raving about this pedal, but they're all kind of like chicken picking, playing country players, wanting more drive in their signal. But I totally think that this is a very reasonable high gain distortion pedal that could be used for Slayer type sounds. I've been working on some pulling some black and death metal tones out of it. I'm sure it could do some kind of grindcore, maybe with something kind of helping it out. I haven't really explored that too much yet, but let's do this. Let's maybe try a little bit of routing stuff with it here. So just to keep it simple for right now, I've got it running into the front of the simplifier. What if I come out of there and run into the return, which would bypass the front controls of the simplifier? I mean, this Pinnacle is technically kind of going for a 5150 sound, so let's see what happens if this can act almost like a 5150 amp replacement here. So let's see. You do have to consider that when you're plugging into the simplifier or most effects loops on an amp that you are losing your volume control. So playing completely clean is going to be an uncontrolled signal going into it. So really got to watch the level controls going in. See, like that level, it's really powerful. I don't want to blow your speakers or my speakers or anything. So I'm just going to use this as like a master volume for it there. So let's set it right about there. In one of my last videos, I talked about how the difference between 3-knob distortions where you have tone level gain and the tone is kind of covering the whole range of sounds versus something with like this amount of controls: gain, level, and then your own bass, mid, and treble control. This is not a parametric EQ where like 0 is straight up and then you're cutting and boosting to the left. It's more of a 0 on the left, 10 on the right type of deal there. But yeah, I think I obviously wouldn't want to run a clone straight into the power amp of an amplifier and expect that to be, you know, a tone that I'm going to be happy with or be flexible. I mean, this doesn't sound bad, but it's also not getting an amp treatment, which I think is very important. I've come to learn is important. Let's do the same thing with the FearBox, or excuse me, with the channel 2 here, the left side. I'm going to bring the volume down to start. Let's start bringing that volume up. There we go. Bring that gain up. Balance it out. Let's see, what if I change the speakers on the Simplifier here, going from the greenbacks to the blue? You know, that sounds pretty good. And let's see, let's go to the blue speaker over here. I mean, hey, that sounds very different, good. Okay, that's cool. What about the different speaker combinations? 212? Definitely lose some of the fullness, but it still sounds usable. Down to the 112. A lot more focused, but still usable. I'm always partial to the 412s myself, but those other ones do sound pretty good. But it's interesting. Let's see. Let's do this. Stack them. Speakers back over to the greenback side. Yeah, let's try back to the blue, to be honest. There we go. Let's flip-flop. I'm going to bring the volume down. And that's the cool thing with this. When you're running it like this, one in, one out on the side there, you can use this switch to kind of flip what's being heard. So this would put channel 2 first and then boosting it with this clone style circuit. So interesting. You see having the tone knob there is kind of interesting. Bring the volume on the level 2, channel 2 up. And then now this is going to be like our master volume, which again is very powerful, so I'm not going to go like full up all the way. I don't want to damage your equipment. But still, that's pretty loud. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of viable, you know, plugging it in like this. However, I do think that what I've learned with this and actually getting to play with this for the past few days is that the Pinnacle side of this deal, it's not a true amp simulation. It's not something where it's like, oh, you can plug this directly into a power amp and it's going to sound exactly like a 5150. It sounded okay doing that, but I've played through enough 5150s to know that's not exactly the sound and feel for it. What I think is actually really interesting with this is that you wouldn't want to take a pedal like this and run it into a 5150 or even into a Marshall amp and expect to get that exact sound. I mean, it's kind of dumb to plug a 5150 amp simulator into a 5150 amp if you already have it. What is it? Universal Audio or something that has a 5150, I think it's the anti that they just put out. I mean, that looks cool and everything, and that is more along those lines where it's like you could plug it into a power amp and it's going to replace it. This, what I think is going on is that this is for the player that just wants to show up to a gig, and maybe you're going to have a Fender combo or a Vox or something along those lines. This is going to get that 5150 sound and treatment out of one of those amps right there. Something that sounds completely different. Fenders and Voxes and 5150s don't sound anything alike. But with this, it can help one of those amps actually get there. So I plugged back into the front of this. Let's explore that now. So I'm set to Marshall settings on the Simplifier. Greenback 4x12s, the way that I normally would. Now listen what happens when I switch to the Fender amp. Oh, there we go. It's kind of interesting. Let's put it back to those blue speakers. Now obviously, very different sound. Let's boost gain a little bit more. Let's bring that EQ just up a little bit. Oh, and I was back on. I keep switching myself to the middle pickup or to the top position. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so back. Let's do that again. So back here. Fender. Green back to blue speakers. Oh no, black speakers, excuse me. Let's boost it with channel 1. Let's go up to the Vox. Blue speakers. Let's go to the Fender power amp. Maybe a little too tinny. Let's go to the USA, which is the Fender, and then the Marshall power amp. Blue speakers back to black. Let's do a flip. I'm going to put that one on the black, the other one on the blue. So again, to me, and my experience with 5150s, the channel 2 running into a combination of the Fender and the Vox actually do get a pretty convincing 5150 sound. So just something to consider with that again. So this is more something that is going to turn an existing amp into a 5150, not something that is going to be a 5150 that you could plug straight into a mixer and get a good sound out of there. Let's do a little bit more. Again, this is just how it's gone. I want to break this up into several videos because I know how out of hand I'm going to get with all this stuff here. Let's do just a little bit. Well, you know what? I don't want to keep these videos going too long. I'm going to get into some routing stuff with this next. So let's maybe just call this here. This has been a good representation of what this pedal can do just in its most basic routing options. What I will do next is, in my next video, would be to split channel 1 and 2 up, trying them out into the input and then into the effects return of the Simplifier, flip-flopping those, and then even getting the Old Blood Noise Endeavors signal blender involved in that too, because these are obviously stacked one into the other, that would allow me to separate the signals and then blend them together. And I'm really interested to see what that sounds like. So thank you guys so much for watching the video this long. I hope that this series covering the FearBox, GearBox is something that helps you guys make an informed decision, and I will see you in another video soon.